There it goes. All right. Good morning, WW Robinson. Today is December 6th, 2018. I have Sean with me this morning. How are you, Sean?
Good.
It's been an exciting morning in the office this morning, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sean's gotten to hear all kinds of great things. It is day 2 in our rotation. And tell us what's for lunch today, Sean.
Cheese pizza, diced potatoes, broccoli, applesauce, mixed fruit, and choice of milk.
All right. Sounds like a pretty good lunch today. And we have Leona here to tell us about the weather. Leona, come on over. I'll hold this so we can see you. All right. What is it today?
Oh, cloudy.
And
Sunny.
partly cloudy and partly sunny. It is. Right now, I don't see the sun, but I think it's going to peek out behind the clouds. What do you think? Yeah. Where did all that snow go from yesterday?
Melted.
It melted. Oh, but it was pretty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Leona. And we have Ari here to lead us in the pledge. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good job. Please join me for a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Okay, we have some birthdays today. Celebrating today, we have Ario Chavez Vicente, Braden Pangle, and Michael Rocha. So happy birthday to those folks. Hope you have a wonderful birthday. And then we also have some staff birthdays today. Celebrating today, we have Miss Ryman and we have Miss Plogger, and that is the preschool Miss Plogger. So actually, I think she's Miss Erickson. I think that's a typo. So Miss Erickson in pre-K. And that's all the birthdays that I have. And I think Mr. Perry's here to give an announcement. So Sean, you can stop right here.
Ooh, good morning, WW Robinson. Happy Thursday morning. This is for 5th grade chorus. We're having an assembly tomorrow morning. It starts at 8:30. And we're going to need to get ready for that. So what's going to happen is when you come to school, make sure to go right to class. And then at 8:10, head over to Mr. Chase's gym, and I'll be waiting for you there. We're going to be singing on the steps, like we did with our last assembly. And some of you are wondering what to wear. And so wear like nice school clothes is something that maybe not like a t-shirt, but maybe something a little nicer than a t-shirt, that kind of thing. And that will be good. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:10, and it'll be very exciting. We'll see you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. All right, so Sean, do you have any shout outs this morning?
Joseph, Tavian, and Grayson in Miss Shorter's class, Jackson Snyder's in Miss Goodwin's class, and Joseph.
All right. I have a shout out this morning too. A shout out to Gavin Morgan. Thank you very much. You do not know how much I needed this morning. So shout out to you. Thank you very much. So we will go ahead and read this morning. I don't know if we'll get all the way through, but let's see what we can get to today. So if you remember, all that's left of Roz is her body and her torso and her head. And she told the animals she would need some help getting home. Chapter 77, The Meeting. Strong, nimble creatures carried Roz up the sea cliffs and across the island. They carefully propped her up inside the nest. They built a fire, and then they left the robot with her son. Roz and Brightville sat there, staring at the flames until the goose finally said, "Do you need anything, Mom?" "I could really use some new arms and legs," the robot chuckled at her own bad joke. "That isn't funny," cried the goose. "My mother is broken, and I don't know what to do about it." "I am sorry for joking." Roz adjusted her voice to a more serious tone. "I know you want to fix me, but there is nothing anyone here can do." At these words, her son looked away. "Brightville, I am afraid we have some difficult decisions to make. I think you should arrange a meeting of our closest friends. We could use their advice." The goose disappeared out the door, and soon Roz's oldest and wisest friends were on their way. Loudwing was the first to arrive. She limped into the lodge on her injured foot and sat close to her robot friend. Mr. Beaver appeared next. Oh, okay. Not gonna cry. Mr. Beaver appeared next, followed by Fink and Swooper. Then Tawny curled up on the floor. Mother Bear was too badly hurt to make the journey, so Nettle came in her place. She sat in the garden with her enormous head jutting in through the doorway. Brightville returned with Chit Chat, who was nursing her burned tail. The last one to crawl in was Crag, the old turtle. Once everyone was there, the meeting began. The group talked all through the night. They discussed the recos. They discussed what to do about Roz. They discussed how to keep the island safe. There were stark differences of opinions. Tempers flared. But by daybreak, the group had agreed to a plan of action. That morning, the dawn truce didn't take place in the great meadow. Instead, it took place in a small meadow by the foot of the mountain in front of the airship. Weary animals quietly hobbled into the clearing. The only sounds came from a gurgling brook that wound through the gathering and right past our robot. Roz sat in the wet grass. She was leaning against a rock. She looked so sad and frail. However, she still had her thoughts and her words, and for the moment, that was all she needed. "Good morning, animals of the island." Roz's voice filled the meadow. "I must look strange to you all, beaten up like this, but I hope I still sound like your old friend." Hundreds of heads nodded. You fought bravely yesterday. You risked your lives defending me, and I am eternally grateful. But many of our friends were wounded. Some may not recover, and there is worse news. Before the last Reco died, he told me that more of his kind would come to our island. They might already be on the move, and even if we defeat them, still more will come. My makers will not rest until all of their property has been retrieved. They want the dead robots. They want the broken parts. They want me. The crowd was silent. But I care about this island far too much. Okay. But I care about this island far too much to put any more lives in danger. And so, my friends, I must leave. Voices cried out. Don't go, Roz. Next time we'll be prepared. We'll risk our lives so you can stay. I hear you. The robot's voice cut through the din. But look at me. My body is ruined. And the Reco said the only ones who can help me are my makers. What if he lied? Howled a voice. You can't trust those monsters. You are right, said Roz. He might have been lying. There may be no hope for me, but that is a chance I have to take. Animals, you taught me to be wild. I want to be wild again, and so I must try to get the repairs I need. Turn to my makers. A calm settled over the crowd. They knew Roz was right. Chapter 78, The Farewell. Our robot had an army of animals at her command, and she asked them to bring every robot part and rifle back to the airship. Absolutely everything had to go. It was the only way to be sure that the Recos would never come back. The island animals had no trouble locating the remains of the dead robots. Retrieving those remains took a bit more effort, but they were up to the challenge. Teams of clever creatures returned with robot parts of different shapes and sizes. Smashed heads and broken rifles and twisted tubes and heavy bodies were all loaded into the ship until the entire island had been cleared. Even the tiniest scraps were collected. It's amazing what an army of animals can do. A light mist was falling when they finally heaved Roz through the ship's door. Her head slowly turned around to face the crowd of geese and beavers and owls and insects and foxes and raccoons and vultures and moose and bears and possums and fish and deer and otters and turtles and woodpeckers and squirrels and frogs and hares and on and on. Every animal on the island had come to give the robot a proper send-off. Goodbye, you wild animals, Roz's voice echoed through the gray mist. The wild animals smiled, and then a few of them started to roar. Then more started to screech, and then more started howling and chirping and grunting. Soon, every creature was hollering goodbye to Roz. The chorus of wild voices grew louder and louder, shaking the robot's body, rattling the ship, booming across the island and up into the clouds. And then their voices gradually died down to silence. Brightbill fluttered up to his mother's shoulder. You understand why I must leave, said the robot. I understand, sniffled the goose. More Reccos could be headed here right now. I just do not know. There is so much I do not know. I think it is time I get some answers. Will I ever see you again? Said Brightbill, wiping his eyes. You are my son, and this is my home, said Roz. I will do everything in my power to return. Brightbill hugged his mother's worn face. I love you, Mama. I love you, son. The goose fluttered back to his flock. The robot took one last look at her home. The door hummed closed. Chapter 79, The Departure. And I forgot to show you that. The airship's engines automatically fired up. Then the ship slowly floated above the island, turned to the south, and disappeared into the clouds. Chapter 80, The Sky. Our story ends in the sky, where a robot was being whisked away from the only home she had in the future. She looked back at her miraculous past. Reader, it must seem impossible that our robot could have changed so much. Maybe the Reccos were right. Or maybe Roz was designed to think and learn and change. She had simply done those things better than anyone could have imagined. However it happened, Roz felt lucky to have lived such an amazing life, and every moment had been recorded in her computer brain. Even the earliest memories were perfectly clear. She could still see the sun shining through the gash in her crate. She could still hear the waves crashing against the shore. She could still smell the salt water and the pine trees. Would she ever see and hear and smell those things again? Would she ever again climb a mountain or build a lodge or play with a goose? Not just a goose. A son. Brightbill had been Roz's son from the moment. All right, one more time. It's almost over. Brightbill had been Roz's son from the moment she picked up his egg. She had saved him from the certain death, and then he had saved her. He was the reason Roz had lived so well for so long. And if she wanted to continue living, if she wanted to be wild again, she needed to be with her family and her friends on her island. So as Roz raced, she would escape from her new life. She would find her way back home. And that's the end. So, just so you know, Miss Urbach is the one that gave me this book. I think it was a great book, but Miss Proctor does not like sad books. So Miss Urbach told me there's a sequel to this book. I'm not sure what the name is, but I'm going to find out, and I will let you know tomorrow on the morning announcements. But I think this was a pretty good book. What do you think? Yeah. Sorry I cried. I knew it was going to happen.